represent the people of the state of Illinois. You are my clients. And so as long as I always keep that in focus, as long as that is always what grounds me when I make decisions, I get to make the right decisions. I get to do the right thing. And so while the job is always busy and always challenging, it's always important and it's always something that I love to do. So I am very honored and privileged to be able to do the right thing. And let me give you some examples of that. One of the examples is, it's simply not right that we have sex offenders that are seemingly able to remain invisible in our communities. And then they are free potentially to terrorize women and children in our communities. And because that's not right, I get to do something about that. And we have been able to work on many fronts. We've been able to pass a lifetime supervision law to make sure that sex offenders, once they're released, will not be monitored just for the 3 years of parole, but potentially for the rest of their lives, if that's what we need to do to protect women and children. We've improved the information on the registry. So we were holding hearings a while ago and we looked at the registry, and a number of news stations looked at the registry, and there were all kinds of problems. There were inaccurate addresses, there were pictures that were 10, 20 years old. You didn't know what crime these individuals had committed, so you didn't know, is this a problem for me, is this a problem for my child? So we've completely revamped the registry. Now we have to take a picture every single year when that sex offender goes to register. We let you know if that individual is a sexual predator. We let you know if they're compliant or not with their registration requirements. We've translated much of this information into Spanish, and we've done an enormous public awareness campaign. So we've gone from 3 years ago, where there were only around 1 million hits a year to the registry, to well over 4 million hits on that registry every year. In addition, probably the most important thing we've done is we put an enforcement mechanism in place so that we are going out to communities throughout the state, working with local law enforcement, bringing in state police, bringing in Department of Corrections, and we're going door to door. And we do this at 4 and 5 in the morning. It's like, sex offender, are you living there? And so, we find if they are, and we find if they're not. And when they're not, then we actually get the U.S. Marshals to come in and track them down. It's a wonderful thing, and we're doing what's right to protect women and children, and I love it. So, okay, here's something else that's not right. It's not right that we all should worry about, is the water that I'm drinking safe? Is the air that I'm breathing safe? Are my kids okay living in this area? I, as the Attorney General, get to enforce our environmental laws, and so we have done everything from suing Exelon, who failed for, a decade, to tell us that there was tritium leaking out of their nuclear power plants in the Braidwood community and others, to fighting with the Bush administration, for whom the Clean Air Act is like something they want to throw in a garbage can. And we've had some successes on that front too. So luckily, the courts have been there to uphold a lot of the Clean Air Act that the Bush administration is trying to eliminate. So that's what you get to do that's right about protecting the environment. And on consumer fraud, there is so much that is not right. A lot of the work that we have been doing involves protecting people from identity theft, which is the fastest growing white-collar crime in the country. We've been working on predatory lending issues, and in particular doing roundtables where we actually go out to communities and we educate some of the people that are most likely to be victims of predatory lending. And so I get to do what's right, and I love it, but I don't do it alone. I think one of the reasons that Don wants me out here, and that he knows that I have a lot of good people working for me, is a lot of them come from Oak Park and the areas around Oak Park. So you have a lot of fine people that are doing great work in the Attorney General's office. But let me tell you what the linchpin is for me. On all of these policy initiatives, when I have to get a bill passed, I have to go to the legislature, because as much as some of my colleagues like to think of me as a senator, I'm not actually a senator. They have to do the difficult work. And so when I have to find somebody to do the heavy lifting, I, in particular, like to call on Senator Don Harmon. Don Harmon was, in fact, go ahead, give him a hand. Don was our lead sponsor in the Senate on the lifetime supervision law that I just talked about. He's the one when, I can have a great idea, but he's the one that's got to get it through committee. He's the one that's got to argue with people who, are sometimes skeptical about good ideas. And sometimes we don't give him legislation that's really easy to pass. Sometimes we give him very technical, antitrust, no one knows what he's talking about, no one wants to hear about what he's talking about, but yet he gets the job done. And something that you all are aware of is that Don Harmon is one of the best and brightest senators that Illinois has.